Back live with you tonight on In Focus, and thanks for staying on. The Tshwane Multi-Party Coalition is calling now for a motion of no confidence against Speaker Mncedi Ndzwanana, and this will be tabled tomorrow. It accuses him of unlawfully adjourning a sitting where a new mayor was set to be elected. For more on this, we are now joined by coalition spokesperson Dr. Corne Mulder. Good to have you, and thank you very much for your time, Dr. Mulder. So on the week that has passed, you have gone to the extent of wanting to call a special sitting on Thursday last week, and that seemingly was ignored. On Friday, we saw a letter coming from the Speaker saying the only urgent sitting that he has convened is for the 28th of March, which is a Tuesday. You've then also reached out to the MEC for COCTA. What has all this come up with?
Well, the fact of the matter is that we don't have confidence in the current Speaker of the municipality of Tshwane. You remember that he was elected in a rather controversial way when 69 votes of the DA was not allowed and discounted in that process. Then we had a meeting, as you correctly pointed out, to elect a new mayor, and we were ready to proceed. And then, without any real reasons as far as we are concerned, he had simply just adjourned that meeting and made it impossible for us to proceed to elect an executive mayor. So then he decided not to do anything, and then in terms of the Municipal Structures Act, the multi-party coalition with a majority of councillors signed a petition. The Act makes provision for that, asking that a meeting be called by the Speaker. Now, in terms of the provisions of the Act, he doesn't have a discretion in that instance. He must call the meeting on the date and the time that we've asked for. That was for Friday. He simply just ignored that. He didn't react even to that. He just ignored it as if it didn't exist. Luckily, the Act also makes provision that under those circumstances, the municipal manager is then entitled to call for such a meeting and to chair such a meeting. So that has now happened, and the municipal manager has, in terms of the provisions of the Act, called a special council meeting for tomorrow afternoon at 3 o'clock, where a motion of no confidence will be heard, brought by the multi-party coalition in the current Speaker of Tshwane.
Are we not going to find ourselves in a similar situation that we saw ourselves in Ekurhuleni, where the Speaker said, well, I'm still here, Municipal Manager can't call a meeting, and that was taken to court, and the court did say, well, the Speaker should have been the one who called that meeting?
No, that was different. I know the EFF is trying to pin their hopes on that court judgment. That was completely different. This is a different situation altogether. This situation was done in terms of the provisions of the Act, and the EFF should do some homework and go and look at Section 29(1)(a) of the Municipal Structures Act, which clearly states that if a petition is signed by the majority of the council, and that has happened, and that petition is then presented to the Speaker, he must call a meeting. He hasn't got his discretion. And then the Act goes further. If he refuses or he does not act, then the Act gives that discretion to the municipal manager, and that is exactly what has happened this time around. So it's completely within the provisions of the law, and this is a legitimate meeting that will take place tomorrow. Having said that, does not mean that the EFF and the ANC, great Democrats that they are, will respect that procedure.
So, is the letter that was issued by the Speaker to say, well, I have called a meeting for Tuesday, is that not action enough?
That's a different meeting altogether. That's a meeting that will deal with the election of the mayor. And that meeting will proceed. That meeting will proceed on Tuesday. This is a different meeting. This is a special meeting called not to elect the mayor tomorrow. This is a special meeting in terms of a petition signed by the majority of the councillors that has got nothing to do with the election of the mayor. This is a meeting that will deal with a motion of no confidence in the Speaker and to remove the Speaker of Council.
So you are saying that a motion of no confidence can almost be summarily brought up by councillors who sign a petition and they vote together and hold a meeting by just sending it to the city manager?
Well, no. In terms of the law, they must send it to the Speaker, and that's exactly what happened. It was signed by the majority of councillors, specifically asked for this motion of no confidence to be handled by the council in a special meeting, indicating the date and indicating the time. The Speaker just decided to ignore the law. He thinks he's above the law. He just ignored it. Luckily, there's a provision in that same act that says if that happens, and that's what happened, then the municipal manager can call such a meeting, and such a meeting will be chaired by the municipal manager. And that's exactly what happened now. The municipal manager acted in terms of that provision, called for a special council meeting for tomorrow afternoon at 1500 hours to deal with one item and one item only, namely to debate and vote on a motion of no confidence in the current Speaker of Tshwane.
I don't know how that works. So let's say tomorrow, indeed, you've called this meeting. The Speaker is in the House and the City Manager is in the House. Legally, what is supposed to happen in that situation? Because there is a Speaker, he has not been removed, he's the Speaker of Council.
This is a meeting that was not called by the Speaker. The Speaker did not do his job. He found himself absent. So it's not his meeting. This is a meeting called in terms of the law by the municipal manager. And the law clearly stipulates that it's presided under the chairpersonship of the municipal manager. I hope the Speaker behaves, because if he doesn't, that will be a further point to prove why there should be a motion of no confidence in him.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not just the multi-party coalition councillors that should be there, it's the other councillors as well.
Sure.
And if they demand that the Speaker, who is the rightful Speaker, to actually chair the meeting, what happens then legally?
Now, I can demand to win the lottery. I'm not going to win the lottery. They can demand as much as they like. You have to stick to the provisions of the law. The Act clearly stipulates what should happen, that this meeting has been called by the municipal manager and to be chaired by the municipal manager, not by some rogue speaker.
Yeah. Are we likely then in that meeting tomorrow to see it descend into chaos, like we have seen at least in the last 3 weeks, where the meetings have not been successful?
Most likely, because those two parties, the ANC and the EFF, are not Democrats. They do not believe in democracy. They only believe in democracy when they are the majority. Now that they are the minority, they don't believe in democracy, and then they try to disrupt these kind of meetings. And the viewers and the public should take note. As we go into the election next year in national level and provincial level, they should know who they have to deal with, because they do not believe in democracy. But who knows, maybe they will surprise us tomorrow and behave like Democrats are supposed to behave and respect the will of the majority in council.
You have the assurance and the confidence that the multi-party members will all be voting, I suppose, in the way that you envisage in the removal of the Speaker?
Yes, absolutely, because we've rooted out those members who were coerced through corruption and all kinds of promises the last time around. We kicked them out. They've got no mandate to act in that way. They act without any mandate. They act in their own interest, and they were removed. We have people now with integrity that we trust. We've got no doubt that tomorrow and Tuesday they will vote to get the right people elected, as is the mandate basically that was given by the electorate.
Yeah. So part of the reason why that last meeting was adjourned was because the Speaker said he's seeking legal opinion about certain members who you say you've kicked out, and the 2 letters that he had received from the various representative parties. Has that matter been settled?
Well, that is a part of the irony, you know. You're talking about 2 different things. The previous week, he was not prepared to get legal advice in terms of the position of the free action SA councillors, and he was not prepared to do that. He just pushed through and adjourned. Now suddenly he wants to get legal advice, completely exactly the opposite from what he did the last time around. Why? Because he wants to replace the current COPE person with a person that will vote with the ANC and the EFF. I don't know where that position is at the moment, whether he gets legal advice or not. It's to a large extent irrelevant, because that one COPE vote won't make any difference in terms of the quorum or in terms of the outcome of the election. But we don't care. It doesn't matter. Hopefully they have sorted that out. But you cannot have the whole council, the whole city of Tshwane being held ransom because one political party are fighting so severely amongst themselves that they can't decide what the position is.
Yeah. So you, as the multi-party coalition, are not particularly interested in the COPE vote. Is that vote yours, or is that vote belonging to the what do they call government of local unity?
No, we've got a majority without the COPE vote. The multi-party coalition does have a majority. The multi-party coalition consists of the DA, Action SA, the FF+, the ACDP, and the IFP. Obviously, if other parties support us in terms of the motion of no confidence in the Speaker, and they've got all the best right to do so, and if other people support us in electing the executive mayor on Tuesday, Silje Brink, obviously we will welcome that. But at this stage, those parties are not part of the coalition, but their councils will take their own decisions.
So I take it by that you have not resolved any issues with COPE. The COPE remains out of the multi-party coalition.
Well, at this stage, with the kind of position being taken by Mr. Lakota and Colleen Makubele, by putting themselves on the same position with the ANC, as far as I'm concerned, COPE is on the blacklist. People cannot vote for a party that associates with the ANC and assist the ANC to stay in power, like is happening in the city of Johannesburg with Colleen Makubele. As long as that is the position of COPE, people should avoid COPE like the plague.
As far as then you reaching out to the MEC for Kokta, I believe she also wrote a letter to the Speaker to get an explanation as to what's actually happening. Did she respond to your request for intervention?
We did not ask her to intervene at all. What we did was, as a courtesy, obviously, from the legal position, we are keeping the MEC abreast of developments in the city of Tshwane so that she exactly knows what is happening. We welcome the letter that she sent to the Speaker demanding to know why the Tshwane has not elected a mayor yet. We also want to know the reason why we haven't elected a mayor yet is because this rogue Speaker basically just adjourned a meeting while we were ready to elect a mayor. But let him explain to the MEC what his decisions and his acts were at that stage. What we did was we didn't ask the MEC to intervene at all. We, as a courtesy, keep the MEC up to date in terms of what is developing in the city of Tshwane to indicate the developments up to this point, and that we hope to be in a position. It's in the interest of the residents of Tshwane that there's stability, and there can be stability if the right of the majority is respected. The majority consists of the 5 coalition parties. That is the majority at this stage. And we need the ANC and the EFF to try and behave like a good opposition. It's not a good opposition to act in the manner that they will do, and let's see what happens tomorrow.
What time is that meeting taking place?
It's taking place as from 1500 hours tomorrow. We saw the statement of the EFF. That statement reeks of desperation and insults, which was expected. And then there's the usual threats that the meeting will not take place. Sounds very democratic to me.
Dr. Mulder, I appreciate your time. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you very much.
Dr. Corne, thank you. He is speaking on behalf of the multi-party coalition, and that is around the city of Tshwane. And that meeting that they say has now been called by the municipal manager following the Speaker ignoring their request to call for a special meeting.